Let's get into a little NFL draft talk, Tom. You have your NFL draft big board to get through.
Yes, I do.
So you did the number crunching, you did the rankings and all that.
With the chance of changing things later on, because we're not going to commit ourselves to this because stuff changed, people get hurt and whatnot. But this is where it sits right now for me after the combine, the top 32 prospects in the NFL draft.
All right, let's get into it. Number 1 on Tom Downey's draft big board. He's a big boy. Quinton Nelson, guard out of Notre Dame. Love him.
Yeah, he's number 1 for me, and we'll get that put up in the graphic as well, having that number 1 in the lower right-hand corner. With Quinton Nelson, I know it's not Saquon Barkley. I know it's a guard. Like, oh, guards are awful. Like, that is what it is. I love him. I think he's a better prospect than Zach Martin as we sit right now, and that is a big deal for me. Zach Martin is a perennial All-Pro, and I think day 1 with Quinton Nelson, he becomes a perennial All-Pro as well. That's the level of player I think that we have here with Quinton Nelson. And I know it's a guard, and it's not the same value in terms of as like a running back or even running back or an edge guy or a cornerback. Getting that guy who can be a perennial All-Pro, that's what you want, though. Like, that's your ideal scenario as an NFL team. It's to get a perennial All-Pro, and that's what Quinton Nelson, I think, is going to be.
I can't wait to watch him.
Like, well, I mean, it's a guard. It's not sexy. I think he's the best player in this year's draft. I don't have a ton of flaws and knocks on him as a prospect. I love what he brings to the team. I think that if you need a guard, you take him. I know that the positional value isn't there, but Nelson brings that as a prospect. And I know it's a guard and it's not sexy. I mentioned that a lot in today's show for guards.
But the tape is great.
I mean, honestly, what more do you want out of Quinton Nelson as a prospect?
Yeah.
Like, he's basically perfect. And yeah, there are some weaknesses and whatnot, but like, I can't think of anything more that I would want out of a player than Quinton Nelson. Here's his sheet here in terms of what he brings to the team in terms of as an athletic profile. I mean, what more do you want
out of a guard?
Like, that's perfect. Like, yeah, oh no, he can't jump. Guards don't ever jump. Like, who cares? Height, weight, speed, agility, everything is there. That is a perfect and ideal prospect as far as I'm concerned.
All right, so Quinton Nelson is at number 1 on Tom Downey's big board, and with a lot of teams in that top 10 in need of a guard, I think he's going to go within that top 10, no doubt about it. Tom, let's go to number 2 now, and I did a top 10 mock draft this morning on my program, and I have this guy number 1 overall. I'm buying into the hype. Saquon Barkley, running back out of PSU.
I understand why everyone's like, oh, he's the best player in this year's draft, and I do understand it. I get it. With that said, he's not perfect, even though he certainly looks that way as a physical player. I don't think he's actually perfect as a prospect, and I do think he's right up there with guys like Fournette and Zeke because he does more for a team than what we see Fournette do or what Zeke did coming out as a prospect. We know Zeke can do it all now.
Sure.
But Barkley is a true 3-down back. My biggest knock on him is that he does try to do too much, and he's going to take negative plays. And what I mean by that is he sees 3 yards, and that's what is being blocked for him. That's what he's going to get on this play. Instead of taking those 3 yards, he says, I'm going to try and bounce it out wide, and I'm going to go try and get 30 yards. And then he ends up losing 3. And that's the concern with me for Barkley. But it's okay because even though he doesn't always use his strength, it is there and available as a prospect. I think he's really close to being the number 1 guy. I think there are a lot of people who think Barkley should be the number 1 guy. And I get that, but he's number 2 for me because I don't think he's quite perfect as a prospect on that end. But he is absolutely incredible. I love him. There was a quote from an anonymous NFL executive who said that he would kick himself in the nuts repeatedly if he could draft Saquon Barkley. I'm not there. I'm not going to go that far.
Quite the praise.
I'm not going to go that far for Barkley, but I mean, I get why people love him, and they should. That's why he's number 2 on my board.
Rolling along here on NFL Daily, presented by Mizzen and Main. Let's go to number 3 overall on Tom Downey's 2018 NFL Draft Big Board. We've got Bradley Chubb, edge rusher out of NC State, a guy I like a lot, a guy I think will go to Indianapolis. He'll fill a need for many teams out there.
You know, there was a report that said that Bradley Chubb could be better than Myles Garrett, and that's what one NFL executive had told, I think it was Sports Illustrated. No, he's not Myles Garrett. And I don't mean to disrespect Bradley Chubb, but Myles Garrett was absolutely incredible. Chubb is not the same level of athlete, and we'll show you that spider chart here in a minute that shows how he measures up against other defensive ends.
Yep.
He's more along the lines of, I think, Robert Quinn. That's what I think he's going to be. He's going to be a steady and consistent 10-ish sack guy. He's not going to be the guy that gets you 15 in back-to-back years. He's going to come in more 8 to 12 almost every single year. The 3-cone drill is what's going to concern teams, and that's how you measure bend and quickness and agility, which matters for NFL prospects. That's where you do most of your stuff. Yeah, being able to jump high and long and run fast for 40 yards in the straight line is great. I think the 3-cone drill is the most important drill in all of the pre-draft stuff. Not a great 3-cone drill. Despite that, we've seen Chubb win and win consistently against great opponents in the ACC. He's going to be fine. He's a top 5 guy for me. He's not Myles Garrett, but I love Bradley Chubb. I think number 3 is as low as you really should put him when you're kind of building out your big board.
All right, so there's Bradley Chubb checking in at number 3. Coming in at number 4, out of the secondary, is he a corner? Is he a safety? Doesn't really matter. It's Minkah Fitzpatrick out of Alabama.
I don't care. He can play. And I think that's the big deal for me when it comes to Minkah Fitzpatrick, is that he makes plays, and he did everything for Alabama. In terms of the way he played this year, he played strong safety. He played nickel corner. He played some dime linebacker. A couple times he was almost an edge rusher, though he did kind of blitz more from the slot than he did from the edge. And we've seen him play outside corner in the slot. He can do it all. And I think the biggest question mark around Fitzpatrick is, okay, where do we actually want to play him? What's going to be his best fit? And I think that's kind of why Fitzpatrick might not go in the top 5. Is because I think his best fit as kind of one of those up-and-coming hybrid safety corner linebacker types, like a Harrison Smith. That's the role that Smith played this year and was incredible at it. But how high do you want to draft one of those guys?
Sure.
And that's the concern there. But Fitzpatrick, again, he's not necessarily an elite athlete, and you hear his spider chart. It's good. It's not great, but it's good enough, and we've seen him do everything for a team. And in terms of the way he plays, it's very similar to Harrison Smith in terms of what Alabama asked him to do this year. I think if you keep him at safety, I think his comp might be something more like a Reggie Nelson, who we saw have a great year for the Bengals and play a bit of both safety spots. So that's in terms of his athletic profile is more of Reggie Nelson. I think in terms of what he actually does for a team is much more along the lines of a Harrison Smith based on what Alabama used him for last year.
He's a versatile player. We'll see where he goes in the draft. He's at number 4 on Tom Downey's big board. Let's go to number 5 now. We've got the Heisman Trophy winner, the first quarterback off the board here for you, Tom, Baker Mayfield.
Swaggy B. That is the nickname for Baker
B.
Mayfield.
All
It
right.
is Swaggy B, and I love it. Shout out to James Yoder, who had suggested that one in the past for me. I'm a big fan of Baker. I know he's undersized. I don't think that that's a big deal for me because we've seen small guys have success as a quarterback. There aren't a lot of them, but it's not the same as having a weak arm or being inaccurate. I think you can get by being small because the knock on small is, oh, they can't see over the offensive linemen. I'm like, all these linemen are 6'7" now. Didn't work for Brock Osweiler. Like, if you're 6'3", you got to see around your lineman and through lanes anyway. I don't think it's actually that big of a knock anymore in terms of the way the NFL split today, and he's accurate. And that's the number one thing for me as a quarterback is if you're not accurate, you're not going to have a lot of success. Now, there are exceptions, guys like Cam Newton who have the rocket arms and make plays with their legs as well, make up for it. But if you're not accurate, typically you're not going to suddenly get more accurate in the NFL.
Sure.
That's just not how most quarterbacks end up working out. He's a solid athlete as well. He's not quite the Lamar Jackson athlete, but I think he's good overall. I'm a big fan of Baker Mayfield. I think he's going to have a lot of success in the NFL.
Baker Mayfield checking in at number 5 on Tom Downey's big board. Let's go to the next one on our list. Number 6, Roquan Smith, linebacker out of Georgia. Great speed, fantastic in pass coverage. I think he'll be a highly coveted linebacker.
You know, the concern for him is that he was undersized, and of course we mentioned now which also played for Georgia. Very funny how that worked out today. The knock on is, oh, Roquan Smith is too small. He's undersized. The dude checked in just under 6'1" and 236 pounds. The man's going to be fine. I know he's short, but his quickness makes up for it. In terms of what you're hoping out of Roquan Smith, you want to get Levante David. If you can get someone of that type, you're going to be very, very happy with what you ended up at. And he didn't do a ton of drills at the combine, so his athletic profile isn't really all there. But he ran a really nice 40-yard dash. It wasn't quite Shaquem Griffin numbers, But Smith is fast. You put him as a weak side linebacker in the NFL, going sideline to sideline, he's going to be fantastic. That's his best fit in the NFL, and I think he'll have a lot of success in the NFL, even though he's undersized. Just don't ask him to be a lineman clogging linebacker. Let him work in space, and that's where he'll have the most success.
So there's Roquan Smith at number 7 on the big board as we transition now into number 8 here on NFL Daily, presented by Mizzen & Main. Vita Vea, defensive lineman out of Washington. Tom, here he is, a guy you like a lot, a guy you think might actually go to the Dallas Cowboys.
Vita Vea is my son this year. Every year I fall in love with a couple prospects that I like a little bit more than maybe everyone else, and I want the Cowboys to end up with. And for the most part, that never ever happens. It was Jalen Ramsey a couple years ago, but Vita Vea is my boy at number 7. I absolutely love him. I have an absolute draft crush on him. I think he's fantastic. I know that there are some knocks in terms of the short arms. He makes plays, and he is a rare 3-down nose guard. You don't find those boys in the NFL. I think his comp is Haloti Ngata. I think he's going to have a long NFL career. I know that his arms are short and the wingspan's not ideal. That's okay if you're on the interior. But 6'4", 347, and he ran an average 40 time for a nose guard or for a defensive lineman in general. I mean, what more do you want? This dude's a stud. I love him. I think he's going to be an impact defensive lineman for whomever drafts him. I want him on my team. I know it's a nose guard, and those aren't as highly valued as other positions. But put him on my roster, and he's going to have a ton of success. And I think he's a stud. I think he's the best defensive lineman outside of edge guys in this year's class. Even guys above guys like Mo Hurst. I saw some love for Tim Settle, for guys like Taven Bryan. Vita Vea is my number 1 guy in terms of interior defensive lineman this year. Vita
Vea actually at number 7 on Tom Downey's big board. Let's go into number 8 now. Josh Rosen, the second quarterback off the board here out of UCLA. Didn't have the greatest combine. Tom, are you concerned?
I do not put that much stock in how a dude looks throwing to receivers he's never thrown to before.
In a t-shirt.
In shorts and a t-shirt at the NFL Combine. That doesn't even come close to what I see on tape and what we hear about the off-field stuff and how he measures up on the film room and on the whiteboard. Josh Rosen has everything you're looking for in a franchise quarterback. His technique is the best in this year's class. His efficiency, his footwork, it's all there. He carried an awful UCLA football team. Like, there was buzz about Jordan Lasley before the Combine, potentially being a day 2 pick. Jordan Lasley can't catch. Josh Rosen was absolutely plagued by drops. And I know the athletic profile isn't that great for a quarterback, but he's not a runner. He's a pocket passer. Chosen Rosen is a franchise quarterback. And if I'm the Browns, I'm taking Rosen well before I take Sam Darnold, who we will get to later on in the show. But Rosen is not that far behind Baker for me. It is 1A and 1B in terms of quarterbacks this year. Swaggy B, Baker Mayfield, and the chosen Rosen, Josh Rosen.
All right, so there's Josh Rosen there at number 8 on Tom Downey's big board. And Rosen, quarterback out of UCLA. We talked about Baker Mayfield out of Oklahoma. We'll get to more quarterbacks later. Let's go to number 9 now. Denzel Ward, cornerback out of Ohio State. The knock on him is his size, but he does a really good job at playing his defender.
He's not big. He checks in at 5'10 and 7/8 inches and 183 pounds, so he does need to bulk up. He got to 5'11", and that makes it look like, okay, maybe you're almost 5'11", so maybe he's big enough to play on the outside. And he had a really good combine in terms of athleticism. Had a 98th percentile broad jump, a 97th percentile 40-yard dash, and a 4.32. The dude can fly. He doesn't have the size you want, but I feel a little bit better about him being able to handle himself on the outside in the NFL. And I think that that's a very big deal for Denzel Ward, and I'm glad to see him run well and test well. I think that's going to help in the NFL draft. I will mention another cornerback here in a little bit, but I think my curse of loving guys and having them run slowly continues to be the case. But Denzel Ward, I was a very big fan of. I like him a lot. As of right now, he is the number 1 cornerback for me as we sit. And I think that's a big deal for me. He reminds me a little bit of Chris Harris Jr. in terms of what he brings based on size and athleticism. There are a couple guys who kind of fit that same mold as well, but that's what Ward brings as an NFL prospect.
All right, Denzel Ward, cornerback out of Ohio State. getting boxed around the 9, 10, 11 range. That's what I've been reading up on him. He's at number 9 on Tom Downey's big board. Let's go to number 10 now. Derwin James, safety out of Florida State. Tom, what do we make of him?
He's a freak. He is a freak athlete. And my concerns about Derwin are not about his athleticism or his upside. It's that I don't know how quickly he's going to get there as a prospect. And that's what concerns me a little bit more, is that he didn't really have a true position last year at FSU. He kind of played the rover spot, was a linebacker, an edge rusher at times, a strong safety, just kind of played everywhere, played in positions that allowed him to make plays. The ball skills were better earlier on in his NFL career, but the dude is an absolute freak athlete. I mean, we'll get to his spider chart here, his combine test results. I mean, what more do you want?
That's almost full coverage.
The more color you get, the better. Derwin's a freak. Like, he is an absolute freak athlete, and that's what I want to see out of my safeties. I still have some Jabril Peppers concerns, and he wouldn't have been as high as it was in last year's class, but I think that he's a top 10 guy this year. He does have a first-round grade from me as well. That's a big factor for me. I love Derwin James as a prospect. I don't think he's going to get out too far outside of the top 10, but we do know that cornerbacks are going to go a little bit earlier this year because that's just the nature of the NFL draft. Quarterbacks always rise, even if they maybe shouldn't.
Derwin James checking in at number 11 on Tom Downey's big board. So who comes in at number 11 here? Josh Jackson, cornerback out of Iowa here, a guy that I like a lot. He is a guy of size, and I might even put him ahead of Denzel Ward, but again, this is your big board, Tom, so here you go, Josh Jackson at number 11.
Look, he was, and I love ball skills. Ball skills, everyone take a drink every time I say the BS word, because I absolutely love them, and Josh Jackson has them in bunches. 8 interceptions, 18 pass breakups. My goodness, what more do you want? The flip side is with Josh Jackson, we know he's long, we know he's lanky, we know he didn't play a lot before this year. Why was that the case? And we go to his spider chart, and there's some solid agility. That was a bad 40 time. Yeah. And that's the concern for me. And last year it was Tease Tabor. This year it's Josh Jackson. My number 1 corner into the combine has a really bad 40. It was a 4.56 for Josh. It was even worse for Tease Tabor. I still like Jackson the same way that I remain a fan of Tease. But with Jackson, the 40-yard dash is the difference between being the number 9 guy on my board and the number 11. Still a first-round grade. I still like him a lot. But I think Denzel Ward has surpassed him because speed does matter in the NFL. I think of how Xavier Howard played late in the year this year. That's what I think you could get in Josh Jackson. It was a tough comp for him because it's just a bad 40 time. That's not what you want to see players post. That's the issue. Josh
Jackson at number 11. Let's go to number 12 on Tom Downey's big board here. Linebacker out of Alabama, Rashaan Evans. I think he's going to be fun to watch in the NFL.
As I watch more and more Evans tape, there's not necessarily like an elite trait that he has, which always concerns teams because you want to have a guy that just makes plays instantaneously and is just popping off in some area of the field. But there aren't any like bad ones either. Like Rashaan Evans is a very well-rounded prospect. That's why I like that Larry Foote comparison. Measured out very similarly athletically, Foote had a very nice, successful NFL career. I know he maybe didn't have the upside of a Jermaine Edmonds or a Leighton Vander Esch, but I think he's a better prospect overall right now as long as he's healthy. I think he's going to be a really good instant starter for you at linebacker. I think he's going to make plays, make a bunch of tackles. Maybe he doesn't become a Luke Kuechly type, but I think he has a long, successful NFL career. I don't like using the word safe with prospects because there's no such thing. Evans is kind of safe, though.
Conservative play.
It's not the same upside as Edmonds, who we'll get to here in just a second, but the consistency I trust more with Evans. Maybe that's a better word to use than safe.
So what you're saying is Ozzie Newsome is totally going to ignore the offense. He's going to go with Rashaan Evans in the first round.
That's right.
That's what you mean.
That's right.
Gotcha. All right, great. So Rashaan Evans at number 12. Let's summarize Tom Downey's big board here.
So far.
1 through 4. Quinton Nelson, Saquon Barkley, Bradley Chubb, and Minkah Fitzpatrick, followed by Baker Mayfield, Roquan Smith, Vita Vea, and Josh Rosen.
Love Vita.
Denzel Ward at 9, Derwin James at 10, Josh Jackson at 11, Rashaan Evans at number 12. But we have plenty of more names to get through. We do want you weighing in. We demand your participation. So hit that keyboard. Who is the best prospect in this year's draft? Tom, you feel it is Quinton Nelson?
I do.
How big of a gap is it between Quenton and Saquon?
It's not large.
Okay.
And look, we all knew Barkley was going to have an incredible combine. We talked about that on Monday. It was maybe better than everyone thought it was going to be. Like, it was still absolutely incredible. I don't want to take away from Nelson, though, because Nelson I think, has fewer flaws than Barkley does. And positionally doesn't matter here, because even though it's a guard and a halfback, but Nelson, I think, is going to be a day one Pro Bowler. I don't know if Barkley's that, and I think there are some more obvious flaws with a guy like Barkley than there is with Nelson. With that said, Barkley's absolutely incredible. That's why he's number 2. That's not a knock on Saquon by any means.
Okay, you're watching NFL Daily here on Chat Sports, presented by Missin and Main. These are advanced performance fabric shirts made right here in America. Sweat wicking technology, no ironing needed, no dry cleaning needed. Really versatile products that you can wear to work, to the gym. Nobody will judge you. You can wear them to sleep. You can wear them to parties. Really fantastic products at that time.
Hey, the most comfortable shirt that you own. That's why the URL is comfortable.af.
There you go.
As the kids are saying, it's comfortable as F.
That's what the cool kids say. Comfortable.af is the website. Let's continue on Tom Downey's big board. Let's go into number 13 now. Harold Landry, edge rusher out of Boston College. And the argument is there that maybe there is a gap at edge rusher after Bradley Chubb. Tom, do you buy into that?
There absolutely is. But I think in general, I was too low on Harold Landry before the combine, because I looked at, I think I've put too much stock in what he did this year, because it wasn't the same with Harold Landry. He didn't put up the incredible numbers when he had 16.5 sacks last year. So I think for this year in particular, it was because he was hurt. And Landry wasn't the same, and his ankle was bothering him. And when it's a defensive lineman, it's tougher to deal with that. And you go back and look at the individual game logs this year for Harold Landry, and you see a pattern kind of start to emerge. He started the year pretty well. Look, you see that in the middle of the game there, a tackle for loss against Clemson, two tackles for loss and a sack against Central Michigan, 3 against Virginia Tech, and then he got hurt against Louisville and Virginia, and his year ended in October. If he's healthy, there's not a massive difference for Harold Landry between a guy like Vic Beasley here. So with Landry, the agility. Those are elite 3-cone shuttle numbers.
Boom.
That means he's got bend. I think Vic Beasley kind of has that same type of agility, although they're not quite the same player. There isn't really an ideal comp based on those numbers. But I think Landry should go in the top 15. Okay. I absolutely think he should. If he gets back past the Packers, something's gone wrong. Or God forbid, someone drafts Marcus Davenport in front of him.
Oh, Lord. Harold Landry is at number 13. Let's go into number 14 now. Maurice Hurst, defensive lineman out of Michigan.
This is still dependent on Maurice Hurst being cleared. And remember, he had the heart condition that was revealed at the combine. He seemed to indicate that he was going to be cleared and he's going to be okay, and it's not going to impact him long term, and it could be more like a Star Lulele thing than a Nick Fairley type deal. So I hope that Hurst is okay. If he is, I am still a big Maurice Hurst fan. I think in some of the pre-draft process, Hurst has kind of dropped a little bit because, he's undersized. What do you do with him? You put him in as a 3 technique, and he dominates one-on-one matchups. That's what he does. You let him go one-on-one against a guard, he's going to win a lot. So that's what I want to see with Maurice Hurst. I think Dominique Easley makes some sense as a come-up, as a disruptive 3 technique. Let him do that, and he's going to thrive.
All right, so there is Maurice Hurst at number 14. Let's check in with number 15. I like this guy a lot. Linebacker out of Virginia Tech, Jermaine Edmonds. Quite a specimen.
He's 19.
Yeah.
He's not going to turn 20 until after the NFL draft. That's why he's so high. That's why he's going to go early NFL draft. He's not the best athlete. We'll get to that guy later on because that dude was very impressed with the combine. But Jermaine Edmonds has this unique blend of being absolutely massive while still being this great linebacker. What confuses me is more and more now, people want to make him into an edge rusher. Like, I've seen list him as linebacker/edge. He's not an edge, guys. He's a linebacker. Let him be Anthony Barr. That's what he played at Virginia Tech. Don't force him to be an edge. Those are great athletic numbers. 6'4.5", 250, and the dude ran a 4.54. What more do you want? Put him in as a linebacker. He's going to thrive. He reminds me a lot of Anthony Barr, and he measured out very similar to Barr as well.
Jermaine Edmonds at number 15 on Tom Downey's big board. Let's go to number 16 now. Darius Geis, running back out of LSU. Your second running back off the board here, Tom.
Yes, and this, by the way, is where we are no longer in the first round draft prospects. We are now in the first/second round. Or we got one more. Our first/second round guys. I stumbled through that there. NFL teams in general are not going to have 32 first-round grades. That's not how things work. You'll see a first round, and I have first/second and some second-round grades. That's where Darius Slay checks in. Tough comp because his athletic profile, which we'll get to, was just kind of weird. Like, it's very stretched, and that's not what you want to see. You want to see more colors on that end. A solid 40, good weight. I like seeing that stretch there as opposed to, like, bench and arm length. You like to see them stretch it at weight and 40. Maybe there's some Marshawn Lynch in him, but I like Guy Slott. He was a great player when he was healthy for LSU, comes back healthy, and there isn't as big of a drop as some think between Barkley and Darius Geis.
Darius Geis checks in at number 16. Let's go to number 17. Wide receiver Calvin Ridley out of Alabama. A lot of people were mocking him to the Chicago Bears at number 8 overall. Big gap between that and your number here at 17, Tom.
Well, there was a gap to begin with, and then with Calvin Ridley, I think he hurt us with the combine.
Yeah, I agree.
And I know he's never going to be a heavy guy at like 191, 180, 189, somewhere in that range, but he didn't measure very well. Like, his 40-yard dash time was fine, but he's not an elite athlete. And do you want to take a 24-year-old wide receiver who's not an elite athlete? I don't know if you do. Now, the thing with Ridley is the tape is incredible. He is the #1 wide receiver on film alone. And the 3-cone drill is okay. He's not a great jumper. He's going to be a pro-ready player. But I think with Ridley, you do have some concerns and some doubts about him from an athletic perspective. And that's why I think he drops a little bit in terms of the way I view him. He's still the #1 receiver for me, but it's no longer like, oh, yeah, he's #1. This is fine. It's now like, oh, maybe it's a guy like Courtland Sutton who we'll get to, or maybe even a DJ Moore. So Ridley fell a little bit, but I still like him quite a bit as a prospect.
Is Calvin Ridley the top wide receiver in this year's draft? Are you still convinced of that even after the combine? Let us know in the comments section here. And, of course, we will be tracking what you say on Facebook Live/YouTube. Let's continue on in Tom Downey's big board. Let's go to number 18, Jaire Alexander, cornerback out of Louisville.
Big winner for me at the combine. He
did well.
He was athletic. He was impressive. All of those things. First/second round grade for me. He reminds me a bit of Jason Verrett. A little undersized, but a good athlete. I think he's going to thrive in the NFL. I think he's going to be a first-round pick. Not the biggest guy, but I think he can play on the outside. He'll make plays as well. He's a very aggressive corner. I like him a lot. He was a big riser for me in terms of the top-tier guys. There's some other guys who made bigger leaps from being lower. I like Alexander a lot. I think he's going to have success in the NFL.
All right, so there he is at number 18. Let's go to number 19, offensive tackle out of Texas, Connor Williams. What is the makeup with him?
If Connor Williams had 35-inch arms, he would be a top 5 pick.
But he doesn't.
He does not. He is an absolutely incredible athlete. Measures almost off the charts in a lot of the areas. But the arm length and the wingspan, you can see it here on his athletic profile. It's not there. So that's going to say hey, he's got to move inside. My hope for Connor Williams is that he can be a David Bakhtiari type. Not the longest arms, but can play tackle. That's where I'm going to try him first. And after Orlando Brown ate the bones and had a terrible combine, I think Williams remains the #1 guy. I'm not quite as high on Mike McGlinchey, who we'll get to later on in the show because of his athleticism. But I understand the concerns about Connor. I'm willing to make one of my rare exceptions. That's why he is a round 1/2 prospect, not an outright first-round pick.
Connor Williams plays on the outside. Let's go to the inside of the offensive line at number 20 on your big board, Tom. Isaiah Wynn, guard out of Georgia.
He played tackle for Georgia. He's going to move inside of that. I think that's his best fit. Not the best strength. This does need to add some weight, but I think Isaiah Wynn, not quite as good as Quinton Nelson, obviously, but he is also a plug-and-play starter at guard. I think there's some pre-injury Jonathan Cooper in him. I like what we've seen out of Isaiah Wynn. I think he's starting when he has a lot of success at left guard. Can maybe play some right guard, but he's athletic enough. If you want a guard who can pull and trap and move, Isaiah Wynn is your man. He's very athletic. Does need to bulk up, though, overall as a prospect.
All right, so he's at number 20. Let's go to number 21 now, defensive lineman out of Alabama, Daron Payne.
There are some who think Daron Payne is better than Vita Vea. I am not on that board. I do like Payne a lot, though. The big concern is that he tests as a guy who can rush the passer. He didn't do that, though. So you are projecting more so than other guys. But I like Daron Payne a lot. I think he's got a lot of ability. I think he is more than just an A'Shawn Robinson run stuffer. I think he can do more for you as an overall player. He can be on the field for all 3 downs. Had a great 40-yard dash for a man of his size. Whatever, he can't jump, okay, not a big deal. The cone and the broad and the shuttle were good for his size. I like Payne a lot. I think he goes in the first round. I just don't know if he ends up being as good as a guy like Vita Vea, though I do like him a lot. He's better than A'Shawn Robinson was as a prospect. I liked him coming out as well.
All right, so Payne checks in at number 21. Let's go to number 22 now. Back to the offensive line we go. Will Hernandez, guard out of University of Texas, El Paso.
He's not the greatest height. He's not the best, although he did surprise me with how athletic he was at the combine. He's got what we call a bowling ball build, where his body just kind of looks like a bowling ball. It's round. Like, he's big.
Yep.
He is a mauler. That's what he's going to be best in the NFL. I think a team like the Jaguars in particular that want to run north and south and get Fournette the ball, that's the fit for Hernandez.
Man blocking scheme.
I like him a lot. I think he's a very, very talented guard. I think you plug him in day one to start, he has a lot of success. Again, positional value not there. Kind of a weird spider cone or spider chart. Good 3-cone drill, which impressed me. That's good for him. You know, the height is not there. The wingspan's not there. That's why he's a guard. He doesn't have the arms to play tackle. But he's going to be also a plug-and-play starter. If he doesn't, he can go above Isaiah Wynn as well. There's not a whole lot of difference there in terms of talent and fit.
Will Hernandez at number 22. Let's go back to the outside with Courtland Sutton checking in at number 23 here, Tom.
Going to go in the first round. Great athlete. The 40-yard dash wasn't incredible, but look at these agility numbers. They were absolutely incredible. That 3-cone drill,
love it.
That is slot receiver, not 6'3" receiver size or numbers. I love Courtland Sutton. I think he's going to go in the first round. Still raw as a player and as a route runner, but he's there talent-wise. He's going to go in the first round. He could have a lot of success. He really helped himself.
Wide receiver out of SMU. Let's go to number 24, Leighton Vander Esch, linebacker out of Boise State. And Tom, the coverage chart that we're going to show here is unreal.
Leighton Vander Esch might have been your biggest combine winner outside of Shaquem Griffin. At his size, 6'4", 256, you don't find those men.
Look at that.
That is unbelievable. I was told that Vander Esch was going to wow at the combine. Okay, does that mean he's going to be good? Because I thought he was a good athlete. He's not a great athlete. He is an absurd athlete. Give me Leighton Vander Esch. This dude can play. The size and the comp there, in terms of what he brings, is Brian Urlacher. That's what you're looking for in terms of that size and athleticism. Not quite there yet as a player, but the upside is immense for Vander Esch. The best athlete at linebacker in this year's class by far.
Okay, coming out of Boise State there at number 24. Let's go to number 25. Another wide receiver, a guy I watched with my own eyes, Tom, back in my time with Maryland, DJ Moore.
This is the riser group because DJ Moore, I don't know what you guys are doing over at Maryland, Cam, but update your darn roster charts because DJ Moore is at like 5'10". Turns out he's 6'2", and he's huge. And oh, by the way, if you're looking for a comp when it comes to DJ Moore, I got it for you. I got the comp. It is one Sammy Watkins. They are almost identical heights, weights, 40-yard dashes, and 3-cone drills and bench press. The difference is DJ Moore jumped higher. You got a better jumping Sammy Watkins on your team. Yeah, sign me up for DJ Moore. I love this kid. He's going to go in the first round. If he doesn't, something is very wrong.
DJ Moore at number 25. Let's go back to the defensive side of the ball at number 26. Taven Bryan, defensive lineman out of Florida.
I warned you guys. I warned you guys about Taven Bryan. He is a really good athlete. And I know he didn't put up the best numbers for Florida, but he has the athleticism there. And I think I have a good comp for him as well. Think back to Tyrone Crawford, not current Cowboy Crawford, because he was playing out as a defensive end right now, but as a 3 technique, that's Taven Bryan. You want athleticism? There you go.
Nice
there is a real argument that what we want Maurice Hurst to be is what Taven Bryan is in the end. So I like him a lot. I think he's going to go late first, early second round.
Okay, let's go to number 27 on Tom Downey's big board. Back to the quarterback position, Lamar Jackson. What is the deal with him?
He is a quarterback. No one tell me otherwise.
Wide receiver?
No, don't make me punch you, Cam. Lamar Jackson is a quarterback. The closest thing we've seen to Mike Vick, and idiotic NFL people want to move him to wide receiver. Doesn't make any sense. Look, the accuracy concerns are there, but he's improved every single year. I think he's only going to get better. I like Lamar Jackson. I would rather take him over Sam Darnold. You put him on an NFL roster, and he will have success. I'm a big fan of Lamar. I'll take him on my team any day.
Lamar Jackson checking in at number 27. Let's go to number 28 now. A safety out of Alabama. His name is Ronnie Harrison.
Combo safety. He's not quite as good as Minkah Fitzpatrick or maybe even Eddie Jackson when healthy, but I like Harrison. I think there's a big job after guys like Derwin James and Minkah. Harrison is that third guy. George Iloka kind of is what his comp is for me. Not an elite athlete, but overall very well-rounded, can play both free safety and strong safety. He'll have a long NFL career, even though it's maybe not quite as elite as other guys are.
All right, so there is Harrison at number 28. Let's go to number 29 now, to the offensive tackle position. Mike McGlinchey out of Notre Dame. Is he going in that first round?
I think he will. Orlando Brown being awful really helped out Mike McGlinchey in the end. He reminds me more of a guy maybe like Mark Colombo. Big, tall guy is better at right tackle. I don't think McGlinchey is a left tackle. I think he is a right tackle in the NFL, which is fine. So with McGlinchey in the end, you plug him in at right tackle. He has a solid career. Speed is his issue. I don't know if he can always handle speed, and that's the concern for me. He's going to get beat sometimes, but he's going to be a good tackle overall, just not a great one.
Mike McGlinchey checking in at number 29. Let's go to the 30s now. At number 30, this might be a surprise for many people watching. Sam Darnold all the way down your big board, Tom.
Excuse me for not liking guys who turn the ball over and fumble a lot. Like, Darnold's good. He's a second round grade for me. That's not a bad thing. He's in the top 30. The issue is with Darnold, he turns the ball over too much. He's going to go in the top 5. We know that. But he reminds me of Jameis Winston. I want to see him improve as a passer. I don't love his motion, although I think NFL teams are going to stick with it. His footwork needs work. He's not as polished. And I don't think the upside is there necessarily as a guy with Lamar Jackson. Jackson could be incredible. Darnold, I think, will be great, but I don't think he's quite as much upside as Lamar, and he needs just as much work, by the way. So that's why I said with Sam Darnold. I like him, but I don't want to spend a top 5 pick on him.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Sue me.
Sam Darnold at number 30. Let's go to number 31 on Tom Downey's big board. To the defensive side, Sam Hubbard, edge rusher out of Ohio State.
People are not going to like the player comparison, but you look at him from a purely athletic standpoint.
Here we go.
And he's very similar. You go to Mock Draftable, number 1 comp for Sam Hubbard, Joey Bosa. He's a great athlete. Now, Hubbard is not Joey Bosa. He's not as good, nowhere near as good, frankly. But with Hubbard, he has the ability to be that guy. I like him a lot. He's one of my better and more underrated edge rushers in this year's class.
And then finally at number 32, Tom, on your big board, James Daniels out of Iowa, offensive lineman, a very athletic one.
O-line lives matters. James Daniels is a great athlete. I think he's going to be a day 1 starter at guard or center. He is an incredible athlete for a lineman. He is a good guy if you want to pull, even if you want to pull some centers like Travis Frederick does sometimes for the Cowboys.
Yep.
I think he's a great athlete. I think Jason Kelsey, although he's a little bit bigger than Kelsey, I think he's going to have a long NFL career. He's still pretty young as well. With Billy Price tearing his pec, I think that just is just enough to get Daniels above Billy Price. They're neck and neck right there for that last spot in terms of the first round guys, even though Daniels has a round 2 grade from me in the end.
Daniel certainly will be good in zone blocking schemes. There's no doubt about that. He is at number 32 in Tom Downey's big board here for the 2018 NFL Draft. We can summarize all of Tom Downey's names 1 through 32. So let's get through him here. I believe we're going to pull up the graphic in a matter of moments. Yes, there it is. 1 through 4, Quinton Nelson, Saquon Barkley, Bradley Chubb, and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Followed by Baker Mayfield, Roquan Smith, Vita Vea, and Josh Rosen. Next slate of 4 here, Denzel Ward, Derwin James, Josh Jackson, and Rashaan Evans. Harold Landry, Maurice Hurst, Jermaine Edmonds, and Darius Geis. Followed by Calvin Ridley, Jaire Alexander, Connor Williams, and Isaiah Wynn. Then the next 4, Daron Payne, Will Hernandez, Courtland Sutton, and Leighton Vander Esch. Next 4, DJ Moore, Taven Bryan, Lamar Jackson, Ronnie Harrison. And then the final 4, Mike McGlinchey, Sam Darnold, Sam Hubbard, and James Daniels. This has been NFL Daily. That's Tom Downey. I'm Cam Rogers. Take care, everybody.